feminist hacker just from Singapore. And I have the great pleasure here to have with me a great guest, Daniel Ehrenreich, just out from Israel in Singapore those 3 days. And he agreed to have a great talk today about ICS security. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a pleasure for me to be here. We spent beautiful 3 days at the Asia ICS conference, and I believe in this short discussion we will put light on some interesting questions about what is ICS security, where are the risks, how we are going to achieve stronger cyber resiliency.
So maybe before getting into the discussion, can you give us a little bit more information about your background and how did you actually start working in ICS security? I believe from my point of view that that's a topic that we don't address enough nowadays. So tell us more about what do you do?
Excellent. So I'm in the industry over a little bit over 42 years. And in the past, over 25 years, I deal with SCADA. And in the recent decade, I'm more involved with cybersecurity. I would like to specifically say that ICS cybersecurity started in mid-2010, strongly. Not that we didn't talk about it before, but after the Stuxnet event, ICS people who were confident that if they are disconnected from the internet, they are safe. When that attack happened, the Stuxnet attack, finally everybody realized that the fact that you are disconnected from the internet doesn't make you safe. So what happened that before that event, most ICS computers, those which were properly built, were disconnected from any type of external connection. But after that event, when everybody realized that the air gap between the IT and the OT is not providing strong cybersecurity, a new activity started directed toward connecting IT and OT, of course carefully, with built-in cybersecurity, but it's happening.
So what do you think about current understanding of the requirements of cybersecurity for ICS systems? Do you believe that there is still a maturity around that topic? I think we're missing, but tell me if I'm wrong.
In order to talk about ICS cybersecurity, let's talk a minute about IT cybersecurity. We all know that IT cybersecurity is all about CIA, confidential integrity, availability. When you ask OT, ICS OT people, and how about your systems? People say, oh, maybe we should start with availability, integrity, confidentiality, and they are rotating the letters. But in reality, the right answer is that all ICS systems managing critical infrastructure must focus on safety and reliability. So in order to make it correctly, my recommendation is no longer use the CIA in any rotation for ICS OT system, but use SRP, safety, reliability, and productivity. Once we look at this system from the safety point of view, it will be all much different.
That's a very interesting point. And to be honest with you, it's the first time that I hear someone addressing it in this way. So as you know, I'm working in advisory on cybersecurity. However, my expertise is not in ICS system. I had the opportunity to meet some professionals working within that ecosystem, and they did actually address it, like you said, within the first view and the traditional way, the old-fashioned view. So definitely you have a lot of insight here to give to us. So what do you think that, for example, could be the right way to proceed with, let's say, a penetration testing for your ICS systems? Or should you proceed? What would be the steps for the manager or the size of an organization before even talking about additional cybersecurity I would say, mitigation controls?
Very good question. Let's go again back for a second to IT. Yeah. Because in order to verify IT security, people say we must do penetration testing. Mm-hmm. And we all know that penetration testing has some risks, Meaning when you do it, something goes wrong, you will have to shut down the
Yes.
system, reboot it, restart it, and so on. When we speak about ICS and think about safety, we immediately realize that we cannot take a risk that something will happen during normal operation of the ICS. So normally we do not perform penetration tests on live ICS systems. So people ask me, okay, so what can we do? I said, first of all, we can do many things. We can do assessment, we can look at the components, we can look at announce vulnerabilities, and eventually, if we want to do penetration testing, no choice. Either we take the entire system off normal operation, we prepare ourselves that instead of 1 day, it may take 5 days to fix it, or some people are building what we call digital replica. Digital replica is the same control center, same PLC, same communication. Of course, it's not connected to any kind of live system, and we perform the penetration test on the replica system. But in reality, I can tell you we can do a lot before we reach the penetration test. But for sure, we don't perform penetration test on any system which is controlling utility or power plant or manufacturing or water, sewage, or anything like this. We don't do that.
So now actually my question goes to, if you have, for example, an IT manager who was, let's say, working on the traditional IT ecosystem and has a new opportunity to work for an ICS company, what would be the first advice that you will give that person?
My first advice would be is to take a class, a training, couple of weeks, maybe couple of months of what is ICS, what are industrial control system. This is a basic. Once he takes this training, he can start to combine his knowledge in the field of IT systems and the ICS systems and combine his IT cybersecurity knowledge. Then it will be good. Let me just give you one example. IT systems, we all know, they are upgrading the software, Microsoft every week, antivirus whenever it's coming.
So we had a great discussion about Microsoft software, yeah, definitely.
And they don't mind to do it 5 o'clock in the morning, so whenever everybody is coming to the office, the system is already upgraded. I see related to ICS, which is using Microsoft Windows and all these standard software. Even if a new software is announced, I will never go and deploy it immediately. Why? Because I'm not going to ask the questions, is this new version or this was the new patch better than what I used yesterday? What I'm going to ask is there a risk that this new version is going to affect the operating safety and reliability? And this is the reason that before I deploy this software upgrade, I will find a way to test the system in order to confirm operation safety and reliability. And by the way, this is the reason why if you go to power plants, water utilities, and our organization, and you ask them which versions you are using, you will be surprised that they use the Windows XP, and they used all the legacy type systems because they know that they cannot simply upgrade it, they must do testing. And if they don't have a good way to do testing, they will not deploy the change.
So basically, your first advice, make sure that you understand ICS and you have appropriate training before even implementing or working in the field. Then the second advice would to make sure that you have a patch management strategy or roadmap that might be actually even different from the normal or standard IT ecosystem. And I think the patch management challenges are mainly related to the testing that is required and the fact that, okay, it requires a lot of time. IT managers usually in the traditional system don't want to do the testing, and it represents in the traditional system a very high risk. So in the ICS word, I like to say, what would be the right process to put in place to make sure that you have a consistent way to test and then deploy the newer version, especially when you mentioned it's like Windows XP, which is not even anymore maintained?
So, so first of all, let's say that I get a clear instruction that I have to do the upgrade. I have to build a plan. What I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, and if I assume it will take me 1 day, I will make sure that I will have that operation available for a week. If something goes wrong, I can fix it. Second, I will start with deployment in a non-critical part. Let's say that I take a redundant HMI and first upgrade that. Something goes wrong, it's not the main machine, it's the redundant, and I can manage. So I will always do risk management, and I will always be prepared. What I'm going to do if something goes wrong, can I go back? How do I assure business continuity? This is the question. Because if somebody tells me, okay, you do the work, okay, you have the system for 1 week because there is a holiday or anyway, we are not using that plan. I said, okay, fine. But I still need a plan that if, for example, a PLC is not rebooting, I will have a backup PLC which was tested in the previous version. So always I need to be prepared what I'm going to do if something goes wrong. This is the idea, because upgrading is nice, it is not mandatory for ICS systems.
Yeah, I understand. And you actually mentioned something that is bringing my curiosity. You mentioned risk management. So what are some of the best practices around that for ICS? Because in the traditional systems, again, ecosystem, you have a risk management framework. You can Google them, find very quickly some advice. But in terms of ICS, how would you manage to make sure that you take in consideration all the risks related to your ecosystem?
First of all, behind every ICS, there is a system integrator, someone who built that system. So before I touch the system, I want to be sure that I have a complete description of what is installed, which PLCs, software versions, hardware versions, communication type. I want to know that system. Why? In order to be prepared with my spare parts and with my backup plan. I will always start deploying it at the least risky section of the system, and I will go step by step, verify it's working, and then I can move to the next step. I will build a very accurate procedure. This is the idea. You cannot do it in any other way.
So basically, just a high-level process would not help you to manage the risk. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely not. You need to have a detailed process for your specific industrial control system. The fact that you did it last month in another factory is beautiful. You have some experience, but for that specific project, you need to learn all the details about the system.
I really like the way the fact that you did it somewhere else, it doesn't mean that you can actually copy paste and do it for that company.
Yes.
Definitely, absolutely. It's the one of the main points here is that you said that it needs to be very detailed. I have seen so many businesses and companies not even having at all processes in place. So of course, when it comes to ICS, it's highly critical not to have the right process. However, I do not think that the industry is still yet mature or understand the risk, and that's probably from the historical point of view. So now that we actually manage that, you basically will have your ICS expert that will be working on the plant and will be there in charge of the security. But what happens is actually if that person goes on vacation and needs to connect to via the internet to make sure that that person can solve a problem. How would you advise that would happen because of course of the risk via connection, remote connection?
First of all, I must give you a very brave answer, is that remote connection directly to the industrial control system is not allowed. Is not allowed. Even if something goes, so you need to be prepared. If that person is not available, someone else will do it, but you not rely on the fact that somebody from his vacation will dial into directly to your ICS. Why? Because a hacker may be listening to your system and he verify exactly how that connection is done, and maybe an hour later the hacker will be connecting. The only exception is that there is an urgent matter. If you see, well, we have a major problem, we need to fix it immediately, and if we not fix it immediately, there will be a risk to life of people, then I say bravely, forget about cybersecurity, you worry about the person. If you see that there is a boiler, if you see there is a boiler is out of its stable operation, and there are people around, that boiler may explode, and somebody need to connect to the control system in order to stop the heating because the normal control process is failing, then of course you allow that connection. And before you allow that connection, you need to verify who is connecting, and if you need to verify that person by the name of his grandmother, do that, and do it for a very short time. So immediately after the problem is corrected, disconnect the line.
So basically you cannot have an open connection remote that is available at any point of time to connect remotely, but only available if required, extreme emergency, especially when people's life is at stake. Make complete sense. So saying that, and really great insights from the beginning, I have the next question, which is actually, let's say that you, the ICS expert, as we are talking about the people that are working in the field, need to actually send and prepare an hourly report, again, via the internet. So what would be the defense? Or actually, should I ask you, can they actually send even reports over the internet? I'm coming back on what you said, no remote connection. So are they allowed to have any information that is traveling over a public network?
Most industrial control systems shall not be connected to any external network. They can be connected to the company IT, which should be properly protected. If you speak about email or any type of communication, for sure, none of the ICS computers, either the HMI, either the engineering station, either the historian server, or any computer should not have any means for external communication, for sure not any kind of Google Mail or private mail, not even internal company mail. The system must be disconnected. If you need securely to retrieve data from the industrial control system, it is possible. Either you use a very strong ICS-oriented firewall, or use a unidirectional gateway. The role of the unidirectional gateway is to allow exporting data from the industrial control center to the IT network without any possibility of data flow into the ICS.
Okay, that's definitely very interesting. Very, very interesting. So when we're talking about the cyber defense and in general those ICS complex systems, I am not familiar with solutions to implement. What about your best advice about, let's say, the three main best choices about solutions that allow you to increase the defense of your ICS systems?
Okay, so we already talked about the fact that the system must not connect directly to any network. We are now talking about the next step, which is very important. That luckily today we already have some tools, software tools availability, which what we call visibility analysis. Visibility analysis produced by, I think today, about 10 companies worldwide. Half of them are in Israel. And what this system, they don't have any active connection to the network. Just by listening, sniffing to the communication node, it can create you a diagram of the ICS, which shows what type of PLCs, a hardware version, software version, Furthermore, which PLC is communicating to the control center, which PLC may be communicating with other PLCs. So you see a complete map of communication. This allows you to have accurate visibility, because don't be surprised, you ask a ICS manager, do you know exactly what is installed? And he will say, yeah, of course we know. And in fact,
They don't know.
They don't know, or they don't have an accuracy. So visibility analysis is one thing. The stronger system today, they have some connection to the database of the manufacturer. Let's say that you have you have a PLC a certain type, and not only you will know that you have it and with which other device it's communicating, it will open for you a window and tell you there was a vulnerability announced about that PLC. So visibility analysis. The second I would talk is intrusion detection systems. We can speak about host-based, which are installed in every computer, or we can speak about network-based industrial control system. And what basically you are doing here, you are doing anomaly behavior detection. Why it is so critical? Because we are worried about zero-day attack. Well, zero-day attack, we just know that something will happen, but we don't know when. So we don't know what to expect. Okay, so if I install an intrusion detection system, it will build a self-learning baseline, and tomorrow morning, the condition, pressure, flow, temperature, or combination of these parameters is out of the safety boundary. I will get the indication. I want to say one more word about IPS, intrusion prevention system, which is popular for IT systems. In ICS, we don't use intrusion prevention systems, meaning that we are not interfering with the process. Even if we detect something that is unusual, in most cases, we will not interfere. So the second would be the IDS. The third one would be a specific IDS, which is focusing on what is happening at the sensor level. Why? Because this is where damage can happen. If you find out that the temperature at that sensor is 50% above what it should supposed to be, then you say, wow, something is going to explode very quickly. Now, which is the best solution? Which is the most important solution? I cannot give you a simple answer. It depends on the system. If it's the very high-risk chemical system, you may have one consideration. If it's the production of drinks or something less critical, it's another consideration. But definitely, I would think about the visibility analysis, about the IDS, and about monitoring the condition of the sensors.
Yeah, I would be very happy if all my customers have a tool that they can have visibility of their own asset and real-time vulnerability management. That sounds really very interesting.
Actually, good news is that some ICS operators already purchased this software, but you can also have a sort of service, which means that the service provider will bring you the computer. It will be connected to your computer, let's say for 1 month, and it will do the process and issue for you a report. So there is a low-cost way to make a step ahead. Of course, it will not give you answer what will happen a month later, but at least you will have something to start.
Very, very interesting point. Thank you, Dan. So my next question, and I have been working on some project around IoT security, Internet of Things. And I mean, I keep on saying that in 2030, we're going to have more than 300 billions of Internet of Things devices connected everywhere. But we are talking with you about something else, which is IoT. So maybe you tell us a little bit more about what is exactly IoT and how it's different from the traditional Internet of Things.
First of all, I must give you a sad answer that many people are still confused about what is IoT. Many people still believe, and even some big organizations are defining IoT a device which is connected to the internet. So what I would like to say that the correct terms are two. One of them is IoT ecosystem, and one of them is IoT endpoint device. And no, we don't say just IoT standalone. The IoT ecosystem is a process where you monitor condition at remote site. It can be a refrigerator, it can be air conditioning. You upload the data through the network to a service provider in the cloud. The service provider will add some AI, some big data analysis, and will give you an intelligent advice. For example, you have a list of shopping 15 devices, 15 products, milk and the butter and so on. The IoT service will give you an answer which store will provide you the best price. Okay, the package, what you are trying to. So this is about IoT. The IoT endpoint devices are communicating via the network directly to the cloud-based supplier. IIoT, industrial IoT, are devices which are not connected directly to the cloud, but they are always connected to the ICS control center. Why? Because it must be connected to the ICS control center for the regular process. Now what happens? That the IIoT devices are strongly used for predictive maintenance. So for example, you have a big pump, and the big pump is creating some unusual noise. You as a serviceman at that water utility, you have no way to realize what is going on. But if you can take this noise, upload it from the SCADA system to the pump manufacturer, which is a cloud service provider, he can analyze it together, of course, with the ticket of the pump, of that pump, and he will tell you exactly what is the problem. Huge benefit. So IIoT, industrial IoT, are very much different from IoT, and because first of all it's industrial, IoT is purely commercial, and because the fact that IoT devices communicate with the industrial control system control center to the cloud, to the specific service provider, and information is coming back, and you make an intelligent and cost-effective decision about predictive maintenance or even urgent repair.
Again, very, very insightful. So what about if the ICS manager or expert needs to connect 100 IIoTs to the system? What would be the most efficient and secure process to follow?
So first of all, I would like to explain one thing. Every IIoT device which you make a decision or consider to connect, you must assure that it will deliver the strong benefits. Why? Because at the same time, adding IIoT devices, also IoT devices, it increases you to the cyber attack surface. What does it mean? It means that now you have, let's say, 100 more points which are connected through Ethernet, some type of protocol to your SCADA control system, and now the hacker have 100 more opportunities
to get to the system.
To get to the system. So first of all, you may think I want to add 100. Finally, you say 50 not generate benefit, another 20 generate high risk, and you will end up with a project which is connecting only 30.
Yeah.
When you decide to connect these sensors, you of course need to have a strong authentication. I'm not sure if you can have encryption because maybe that device is not supporting encryption, but at least you must have some strong signature to verify that the device which you decided to connect with some, not only with some type of address or definition, that device is connected. I'm always worried about risk. The benefits, I can tell about it. But if that device is generating cyber risks and new opportunities to attack my industrial control system, I will be very much worried.
For sure, for sure. So how do you choose your IIoT provider? What would be the actually assessment or the steps, the main steps that an expert working in the ICS ecosystem should take before choosing that solution?
So when we build the SCADA system, we try to build it mostly from one manufacturer. The manufacturer of the control center, the manufacturer of the PLCs, RTUs, all from the same manufacturer, or at least systems which are smoothly connecting together. When we speak about IIoT, we are speaking about some expert devices, meaning that now I have to find a manufacturer who specifically is capable to detect vibration, or specifically capable to measure temperature in high accuracy, or flow in high accuracy. So I will find product from a different vendor speaking different protocol. So first of all, I will look at it, what type of protocol that the device is speaking, see if my SCADA system can support that protocol, or what level of adaptation will be needed. If that IIoT perhaps support authentication, how can I verify that a specific device is connected and not another device of the same type? If that device can support some type of encryption, even better. So I will prevent some man-in-the-middle type attack if the link will be encrypted, because when we speak IoT, we always think about some type of remote device which is installed in area where I cannot assure very strong physical security.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Again, I'm learning a lot today. Amazing. I think I will definitely read much more about, ISCS systems and the security around that. I know that I had that like during my studies so long time ago that I only remember very little about the technical details. Next question that I actually would like to ask you is, people considering in the same subject, people are still considering using IoT devices and they integrate them within the ISCS architecture. So now that we talked about all the different points, and you also mentioned of how you choose the products, in general, what would you advise in terms of solution to secure that ecosystem? So we said, okay, those are the solutions that you need to protect your ICS. Those are the ways to make the choice around your IoT. How about the whole ecosystem? You have your ICS ecosystem, you have your IoT devices. What are the best solutions to put in place?
First of all, I would like to go back a step and say a very important sentence, that industrial control systems are all about safety. And the IIoT device which is added to the system, I must be sure that it doesn't compromise my safety. And I want to say the following. In order to assure safety, I must assure cybersecurity. Without cybersecurity, you cannot assure safety.
I like that. I like that very much.
And furthermore, you cannot create cybersecurity if you don't have physical security.
Yeah,
what does it mean? That device installed at the remote site must have some type of physical protection, meaning it should be in a closed cabinet with some type of sensor if somebody is opening. So start with physical security. Okay. And make sure that it will not be very easy to disconnect the device and reconnect another device instead, or any type of manipulation will not be so easy. So physical security, cyber security, we already mentioned, authentication, encryption if possible. If it's the expensive device, probably it will support some type of encryption, and the goal is always think about safety. In general, I want to say, don't consider any type of cybersecurity solution, IoT solution, if it put the safety into risk.
Okay, well noted. Definitely, people's safety is the first thing to take care of. So actually, when you're talking about IoT, and this is something that came to my mind, have you ever seen, like, actually, or found out in an ICS ecosystem, a rogue device? Like, we're talking about rogue access points and shadow IT. Have you seen something like that?
Well, it may happen because the service people are sometimes try different ideas, and they may connect a sensor. Okay, for 1 week I will connect the sensor. It's not properly documented, not properly secured, and somebody may find out, wow, here is a sensor, there is a RJ45 plug to that. Let's see what can I, and people will start play for that. So we need to be very careful when we think about the goal of that industrial control system. And sorry to mention so many times the word safety, but if safety is the main goal in our mind, every person who is touching that system must behave very, very carefully.
And have the same mindset.
Yes.
Safety comes first.
Safety
I'm
comes first, and
responsible
not
for that.
allow any type of permanent temporary device connected to the network not secured properly.
So now, after all those insights, let's say if you have to give, let's say, 3 takeaways for someone who is in the ICS ecosystem working around security, what would be the 3 main takeaways?
I would say that the first most important takeaway is know your system very well. Have your documentation ready. Have spare parts ready, and be ready for the unexpected. I think these are the most important takeaways. Every morning ask yourself, what can happen today and how I am prepared to deal with that, with 2 goals in mind. One goal is safety, second goal, business continuity.
Okay, very good takeaways. So as you mentioned, and I know very well that you're doing a lot of training and seminars around the world, around SCADA system and ICS, what is the most common question that you get from your attendees? And I am particularly asking this question because it will allow to understand what is missing in the industry.
Well, the type of people that I'm training, three types of people, ICS engineers who want to learn ICS security, IT engineers who want to learn ICS so they can migrate their position to ICS security, and of course managers who need to learn about this topic. And many times people are asking me, how about the cloud? Which part of the ICS system can I move to the cloud? Can I move the HMI to the cloud? Can I move the automation server to the cloud? Because we are always looking for ways to reduce cost. And what I'm telling these people, if you think about safety and business continuity and the benefits, you must do it. If you not must do it, don't do that. This is because I'm myself conservative. I belong to the people who handle systems very carefully, and we don't need to run to modernization, which is not proven worldwide. So the people are asking a lot of questions about the cloud, and because IT people are already talking strongly about the cloud, which is the normal way of handling their system. For ICS, we not do that. First of all, because we cannot test the system. What will happen if your communication network will go off for an hour or for a day? What will happen? If people will tell me, listen, I have a non-critical application and my SCADA system is only connecting the reading from the electricity meter and nothing is critical, I said, okay, let's see if you can do that. But on the opposite side, if somebody is saying I'm controlling the boiler and the steam turbine, I said, yeah, need to be more careful.
I mean, even in the IT ecosystem, people have really still hard time to understand the shared responsibility model of the cloud. And so many times there's just not the right configuration of their cloud access on their platforms. They think that the service provider will provide the security. So definitely here, before reaching a complete understanding of the risk and a maturity around cloud, yeah, I agree with you. Probably it's safety of the people comes first. So Dan, it was amazing. Thank you so much for those insights. I really enjoyed our discussion, learned a lot. And I would say we can end our discussion on one point, people safety come first. So whoever is working in the ICS ecosystem or who wants to get into the industry, I would absolutely recommend and advise to get in touch with Daniel here. He is amazing, as you have seen, a lot of knowledge. And yeah, thank you very much. It was great having you in Singapore.
Thank you very much, Magda, for hosting me for this interview, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to bring this information to people who are anxious to learn. Of course, you are invited to look for the papers which are published over the internet, primarily through several websites, and learn this topic. And I can assure you that if you move one day to the ICS security area, you will enjoy that.
I'm actually literally seriously thinking about that after our interview, definitely.